Hear me? I'm a marketer, which means that most of the people in this room pretty much dislike me, because I'm the guy who tells you stories and pulls on your emotional heartstrings. I'm the one that gets you to convince you to buy the things that you don't need, right? I'm the evil, evil marketer. And out of this brilliant group of people that you're going to see today, I'm going to be that one that you can hate if you want to, okay? Not really, though. I'm a nice guy. I want to talk about happiness today, and I think I'm qualified to talk about happiness because of a couple of reasons. Number one, because of my profession. As a marketer, my job is to get an emotional reaction out of you. Because if I can get an emotional reaction out of you, what happens? I can get you to take an action. I can get you to have a reaction because emotions equal reactions. That's the number one thing you're going to learn when you get into the marketing business. And this is true not just for people in marketing, this is true for everyone in life, for everything that we do. Every time we want to get something, we try to get an emotional response on somebody because we know they'll pay attention to us if we do that. Now, this works in all different fields. It works in charities and foundations as well. I'll tell you a couple quick stories. There's a little boy named Aiden. One day, Aiden's parents got a call. They said, your son has leukemia. 5-year-old little Aiden, happy boy. And his parents said, what are we going to do? This is horrible tragedy. Let alone, how are we going to pay the bills? We do not have insurance. We don't have the ability to pay these bills. And our son's sick. What are we going to do? And the aunt came along. She said, well, you know, Aiden loves to draw. And she said, why don't we have Aiden take some drawings and put them online and make a website called Aidens Monsters. And that's exactly what they did. So for $12, you can go online and you can buy or donate and get a custom hand-drawn picture of a monster that Aiden drew himself. Okay? To date, they have raised almost $100,000 through the power of the internet and just using social media and getting this to spread. Because what happens when somebody hears a story like that? They have an emotional reaction to it, and they share it with somebody else. This is the good side of marketing, right? The good things that happen. If you've ever seen the Humane Society commercials, right, with Sarah McLachlan, okay? Eyes of the Angel. I'm not going to sing it. But I want you to picture it in your head right now. There's the poor dogs and the poor cats, and they're looking into the camera. And it almost looks like they're crying and they're shivering. I mean, it shakes you up, doesn't it? That commercial today is the number one producing commercial for a charity, and that's why you see it over and over and over again. Because what happens when you see that commercial? You pick up the phone and you make a donation. That is marketing at its best for a good cause. And that's why I'm qualified to talk a little bit about happiness, because I spend a lot of time figuring out why people buy things. And one of the main reasons people buy things is because they want to be happy. And it's not about the money. I want to stop and say it's not about the money right now. You know, everybody says, well, if I had $1 billion, I'd be happy, right? Ask anyone you know who has a ton of money and ask them if money is the reason that they're happy. Money makes things easy. Money makes things a little easier to get through life, but it certainly does not help you to be happy at the end of the day. And I think for a lot of people in the audience tonight, a lot of students in the audience, this is something you will learn as things go by, as I have. And it's really important to realize that. Now, I'm in the business of creating smiles. I can tell you for sure that the people who developed this ad for this orange juice company went through and probably did 10, 20, 30 different shots of people smiling because they know that if they have the right shot, that they're going to have more sales of their orange juice. And this happens every day, all day long. They'll try a shot with the dad in there. They'll take the dad out. They'll test that. In the online world where I live, I can test on the fly. I can run 30 of these ads running on websites all across the world, and I can tell you within a day which one of those smiling faces got the most clicks and got the most sales. We're addicted to smiles as a country, as a world. We're addicted to smiles. We got kids smiling, right? We got ads with the kids. We buy this because, as parents, we want our kids to be happy. We've got dogs smiling. We have smiling dog products. We all know why this guy's happy. This is my favorite one. Grandma's smiling again on a mountain picnic. I don't know what marketer came up with this ad, but apparently Grandma needs to smile again on a mountain picnic. And then, of course, you go overseas and you get some crazy stuff like this. The Smile Trainer. I don't even know what this thing is, but apparently somebody's buying it. And again, it's not about the money. Now, these are my kids. Big sister is very happy to do the photo shoot that day. Little brother is not very happy to do the photo shoot that day. I just had to throw that in because they're my kids and they're cute. Now, it wasn't about the money, right? Sir Richard Branson, he looks pretty happy though, doesn't he? Billionaire Sir Richard Branson. That's my comic relief photo for the day here. So let's get serious. They drafted the Declaration of Independence, and they put in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And what has happened since that day is we have become addicted to the pursuit of the happiness. That's what we do. We go to work every day in a job that maybe we don't like. We build an entire career, an entire life on something that we really do not enjoy. We take the things out of our lives that we enjoy and we make up excuses in the back of our head and we say, I can't go and do that. I don't have time. That used to be something fun I used to love to do. I don't have time to do it anymore. It's too expensive. These are the things we do because we're addicted to this pursuit of happiness. We are trying to really get to that point where we actually can get to the happiness, right? A side note, if you search pursuit of happiness on Google, apparently Will Smith had something to do with the drafting a Declaration of Independence. All right, so the story goes now, I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a Cleveland guy. And I grew up in a suburban, blue-collar family, right? My dad worked at General Motors for 40 years. He was the guy who fixed the robots that replaced the workers on the line. My mother was a school teacher, an English 8th grade school teacher, which, by the way, never try to play Scrabble with an English school teacher. She kicked my butt. I still owe her money. So I grew up with pretty much everything. I don't have this tragedy story to come up here and tell you about something really tragic that happened in my life. I am completely and utterly blessed, and I say thank God every single day. But just because I don't have a story doesn't mean that I don't have experiences that happened to me in my life that made me want to realize I can do things differently or I could do things better. I was at a conference this week and I met Aaron Ralston. He's the guy who had his hand trapped in the boulder in Utah for 7 days and had to cut his hand off and to get free and then go 20 miles to safety, and he lived. He's got a great story to tell you. I don't have a story like that. Thank God I don't have a story like that. When I was younger, my mother would take me fishing. And she would take me fishing all the time. I learned how to love fishing. She took me to the local fishing derby. I would go with her to Kmart up the street. You know, we're a blue-collar family. We went to Kmart. I have no problem admitting that. So we go to Kmart, and I would go into the fishing aisle, and I would literally stay there for hours and hours. I would ride my bike up there, and I'd look at all the lures and the baits and the rods and the reels. And I looked at it, and I was fascinated by fishing. Then I would go fishing all the time. As I got older, I would ride my bike, and I would go fishing all day. And I'd come home at night, you know, back when, before you said cell phones, you know, 70s, when you could disappear for 12 hours a day, and then you come home. Well, I would never let my 10-year-old do that in today's world, but that's the way it went. So I fished a lot. Now, when I got older, I got into, you know, girls, society, regular things. High school, I had a car, I could go other places. The fishing kind of sort of took a little bit back seat. I got into college. Come on. no time for fishing when I was in college. I got out of college, I started a career, and I was like, all right, I got to go to work now. This is what my blue-collar family told me I should do. I should get a job, and I should go to work. Met my wife at the University of Akron. We got married, and we decided to start a family. So I remember the morning of 9/11 for two reasons, and two very succinct reasons. One, of course, that was the day that we lost thousands of lives. Horrible, horrible tragedy. But it was also the day that I got to see my baby girl on an ultrasound in my wife's belly for the first time. She picked me up. We went to the hospital at 9 o'clock in the morning, listened to the radio all the way there. Got there, went in, they put the thing up to my wife's belly. I got to see my heartbeat of my first child. I walked out of that room. Less than an hour later, I watched the second tower collapse. And it was one of those days that was just a couple of conflicting emotions for me. That's why I remember that day. And I remember that day specifically because that's the day that I changed the way I thought. I knew that my family was more important. So again, I went back to work. And I went back to work like you wouldn't believe. My wife quit her job. She was a high-paying ad executive. She wanted to stay home and raise the children. I said, great. So I had to make up her income and mine. I went back to work as hard as you could believe. And I worked hard. I didn't see my family a lot. I was busting my butt to make money. Had all kinds of clients. Sitting at my desk one day, and my heart starts to pound. In my head, I get dizzy. And I'm on the phone with a client, and I don't know what's happening to me. And I said to the client on the phone, I have to go. I think something's wrong. And I hung up. Hung up the phone, and I didn't know what was happening. I thought I was having a heart attack. My heart is literally beating out of my chest. I feel like I'm going to pass out. And of course, being the internet geek that I am, I Google symptoms of a heart attack, which is, by the way, is the wrong thing to do if you're ever having a medical situation. Get up, go to the hospital. So I call my sister, who's a physician's assistant. She says, don't worry about it, you relax, you're not having any of the symptoms, just go home and relax, okay? So I get home. Next day, my wife sends me to the doctor for a full checkup. They do the chest scan, they do the whole thing. A couple days later, I'm in my doctor's office, and the doctor looks at me and he goes, Jim, I can find physically nothing wrong with you. The problem with you is not here, pointing to my heart. He says it's right here. And that was the time I realized that I had my first panic attack. And if you've ever had a panic attack, an anxiety attack, the first time you have it, you think you're going to die. It was then that I realized that I had been spending way too much time doing things that I didn't like to do anymore. I was living a life I didn't really like. I should have been fishing more. I had spent the entire first part of my life fishing, doing something I love. Then I took 25 years of it off. The day I got out of that doctor's office, I went straight to the Kmart, which, by the way, still exists because I still live near the old place where I grew up. I went right into the Kmart and I rebought fishing equipment, and I went fishing. And I still do it to this day. I go fishing when I feel like it. When I want to take some days off, I go fishing. If I get up early in the morning, I go fishing. I found the one thing that really helps me not have anxiety attacks anymore. It allows me to relax. It's the one thing that made me happy. It's the one thing that I grew up with, besides my family and everything else. So what is that one thing that you have in your life that you refuse, or your brain refuses to let you acknowledge and refuses to let you do because you have a million different excuses? Now, I turn 40 years old a week from tomorrow, right? And I have several goals for myself moving forward. Number one, I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father. Number two, I want to become one of those fit people. Guys like me, that's what we say about you fit people out there. I want to be one of those people, right? And number three, I want to start a foundation that's going to help people who have tragedies make revenue. Use my marketing skills to help people like Aidens Monsters come up with ideas that they can raise money. So hopefully I'll be back at another event soon, and I can tell you about that foundation that I started. Now, I was at a trade show in Indianapolis this week. My wife calls me, and she's very upset. And it turns out a family friend had a family member that passed away. And the story goes like this. We've all heard this story before in various forms. The father was home with his two boys. They are 9 and 6 years old. He makes them breakfast. He's getting them ready for school. And he goes upstairs. And he goes upstairs to change and take a shower. Now 15 minutes go by, and the boys are sitting there. Where's Dad? Why isn't he taking us to school? And I picture these two kids walking up the steps to find their dad dead in the middle of the bathroom. And I think, my God, don't delay your happiness. Find out what's going to make you happy, because life is short. Thank you very much.